Hello everybody, this is Mario Ranchi, brand strategist and founder of ManuFracture. Today with another episode of Ambitions of an Agency, and today we're going to talk about my business presentation. I just had a business presentation as of recently on Sunday, and I just want to go through, the whole process of how I created this whole presentation, because I think it'd be really helpful if you're a business owner or you're a designer who's looking into, or has their own company, who's looking into actually, doing these type of presentations. I think it would be very helpful to look at, the process of how I did it. And so, yeah, so let's begin with first, understanding, who was my audience there. My audience was basically business owners starting, either starting, they're mid-sized or they're large, all range. So I had to think about ways in how I could make this presentation applicable to them and clear to them, and that it can be easily and simply understood, not full of so much jargon and so much, fluff. So something practical that they could actually use. And it took me some time to really find out what they really needed, and I found some sites like Wolf Olin's branding agency site and Interbrand, and I really came across some very interesting statistics, that really showed long-term and short-term value and showed branding as a business asset rather than just a fluffy term. And so, first beginning, I started to look at my speech. This is one of the first drafts of the speech, first outline. First outline. This is the first one. And you can clearly see here, I start off with an intro and a hook, but the intro is very, very, how do I say it? It's just too straightforward. It's just like, hello, my name is, there's not really a hook there, and it's just pronouncing who I am at the moment. There's no attention grabbing, there really is no hook there. So that was bad, so I had to fix that. And again, you're seeing, what is branding. At the first stage, I was already figuring out what the structure was of this. I was already figuring out, how many points am I going to make in this. So I made like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points in the beginning. And so I was thinking, okay, this is good, but they need results, and I have to now add a hook, more transitions, because the transitions were not, there. It's all blatant. There's no like, it just goes on from one thought to the next without really, tying those things together, And so we go to the second one, which now I'm already starting to highlight things, trying to shorten it. This is the part where we actually I figure out how to, do an intro, like, oh, what would your day look like, what would you do if you were no longer able to recognize brands, like an attention gather. And then started to do transitions, like, let's begin this journey, let's move on to this question, I'm going to bring up the question now, all this type of stuff. But really starting to cut down on a lot of stuff, because when you're creating a presentation, it's better to refine, like to do a first draft and to refine and take everything down to the simplest points of view. Because if you do that, then your presentation will be concise, and it will be, your audience will be able to understand it better, because now you have, the main ideas in each one, you list a few points, and then you move on to the next. And for the third one, this is the final one. You can clearly see everything is here. I made more changes, like adding the results of what branding creates, like my actual case studies, one of my actual case studies, and looking through it, adding the statistics, all that good stuff. And it's much, much shorter now. But of course, that is just for practice, right? That is just for understanding and, really thinking about what you need to do. But the main thing you need to think about is How are you going to do this without a script? Like, because body language is 70% of your is like nonverbal communication is 70% is of your communication is nonverbal. So that means body language, that means hearing, that means tone of voice, all that stuff. And that's very important in a speech, because if you're holding on to this thing all the time and you're reading from this, or you're looking here, looking there, it's not going to help you. So you really need to figure out, what are your main points, right? First thing, what are your main points? What are your transitions? If you know your transitions, you're basically gold, because I have this point, now I'm going to this point. You know that that's the ending point of the thought, and you can move on to the next thought, and the next thought, and make your way through the presentation that way. You just have to have a very, very, very clear idea of what you're going to say in each idea. Doesn't need to be the same all the time. It can be, it'll be always very different. As you'll see, I'm going to show you some clips of me practicing, and it's different every time. And even at the end product of me doing the presentation, it was different. I left some stuff out, So yeah, and that's very important, because you need to use your hands. I figured out that using the steeple motion is very shows and conveys confidence a lot. Opening your palms like this. TED Talk people do, if they're doing a TED Talk, people do stuff like this, because it shows that you're welcoming, you're accessible, and just really figuring out how to give a great presentation is what it's all about, from every side, not just the outline side, or this what your content actually is, but the actual body motions and the tone of voice and the pauses. Many times you'll see in the speech I do a lot of pauses, because it's very important to highlight a point. If you want to highlight the point and let that sink in for the audience, you just need to pause for a second, and not too much, just like a 3-second, 4-second pause, and you'll have that pretty much done. And yeah, so I'm gonna show you some clips. Hello everybody, my name is Mario Ronchi, and I'm a brand strategist and founder of ManuFracture. And essentially what our agency does is we specialize in attracting clients who've put their hand, who are specifically interested in buying your product or service. Who here would like a simple process where you can consistently attract clients that put up their hand for your product or service? Raise your hand. Okay, that's a lot of people. But before we get into that, we need to understand exactly what is branding. And we are going to go through a simple idea first. So you can see these 4 pictures. Now what do these 4 pictures have in common? Now you can clearly see, for one thing, is that you know all of them. You know exactly who these things, what these symbols are. I don't even need to tell you what they are. Your mind has already created an idea in your mind about what these things are. You could say, for example, for the Abraham Lincoln picture, you could say he's a bearded old man. But you already knew his name. You already gave a name to him, because you know who he is. He's already formed an idea in your mind, a clear, recognizable idea in your mind. And that is caused through perception. And that is basically what a brand is. A brand is a person's perception of your business, a people's perception of your business. They perceive you as such, and it can be bad or it can be good. But you have the opportunity to actually figure out how to show the right thing to your customer so they understand your brand better, like those pictures, like those symbols. But if we're just going to think about perception, perception's such a fluffy thing, you know? How can I quantify the value of a brand? Well, it's very simple. A brand is actually also a business asset. Since your business, since people have a perception of your business, if people have perception of your business, that is important to know how to quantify that value. Because I think that's incredibly valuable to have people know who you are, exactly who you are, and what you stand for. So you can quantify that with two things. Because this business asset is a long-term and short-term value thing. So in the short term, consumers want to buy. Hello everybody, my name is Mario Ranchi. I'm a brand strategist along with my partner Nathan of a brand and agency called ManuFracture. And essentially, what our agency does is we specialize in attracting and connecting you to clients who've put up their hand, who are specifically interested in buying your product or service. Now let me ask you, who here would like a simple process where you consistently attract clients that put up their hand for you and say, please help me buy my product or service? Great. Before we get into that, we need to understand what branding is. Now, you can clearly see these four pictures here. Now, what do these four pictures have in common? Well, for one thing, you already know what these pictures are. You know already what feelings, experiences, and ideas are attached to these pictures. For example, maybe in the Eiffel Tower you're thinking about France and the smell of hot croissants coming from the oven in a small roadside cafe while you talk with your partner or your friend, whatever. Even though this is a picture of a spindly, winding tower, metal tower, your mind already fills in the blank. It's formed a clear, recognizable idea in your mind. Paris, France. Now, and this is caused through perception. And what is perception? And that's basically what a brand is, perception. It's people's perception of your business. It can be good and it can be bad. But you have the opportunity to influence it. So people know what you stand for and also attach feelings and experiences to your specific product or service. The goal in branding is for your business to be as recognizable as those pictures that I've shown you now. To have those ideas and those feelings all connected to your own product or service that simply and recognizably. Now, you're probably asking yourself now, well, Mario, this is so cool, but what would your day look like if you couldn't recognize brands? It would change the way you pick your car, change the way you dress, change the way you pick your job. Would you be able to find what you're looking for? Would your patterns be fractured? My name is Mario Ranchi. I'm a brand strategist at ManuFracture. And essentially, along with my partner Nathan, and essentially what we do is we specialize in attracting customers that specifically put up their hand for your product or service. We're going to chat about some real-life brand stories so that you can leave here with some clarity on how you're going to reach the world. And we'll begin our journey into branding with a simple idea. I want you to take a look at these four pictures here. Now, I want you to look at them for 10 seconds and then close your eyes and describe to me the feelings, the emotions, the ideas that are going through your mind right now. Okay, yeah. Yes, that's good. Now you can clearly see here that I didn't even need to tell you what these 4 pictures are. You already knew them. For example, for this Eiffel Tower picture, you may be thinking about hot croissants coming out of the oven and you sitting down in a roadside cafe with your partner or your friend and sipping some coffee in a bright noon day. And that is done through perception. Perception does that. It makes you fill in the blank. Even though this doesn't have any correlation to a cafe or anything like that, it's just a metal tower. But your mind already fills in the blank. Paris, France. And this fill in the blank is caused through perception, and that is basically what a brand is. Branding is people's perception of your business. It can be bad or it can be good, but you have the opportunity to influence it so that people know what you stand for and recognize you for the things you do and the stuff you sell. Now, I want to bring up the question that's on everybody's minds right now. Perception. Such a fluffy word, right? How can I actually grab that? You know, what tangible value it is? Mario, I'm a business owner. I don't know these things. I don't want to know the nuances about psychology. I don't want to know the nuances. And for the visual part of the presentation, I had to make a slideshow, PowerPoint slideshow. And of course, PowerPoints can become boring if you add too many lines of text. You know, things become a paragraph. It can be distracting. It can be boring. So the way I structured my PowerPoint is that I used only images for the most part, and like very little text, and each one, you know, just to add to my point of view. Small little diagrams with like emphasis on buy, work, profit, commit, grow, growth prospects. Like these are all main points that they take away, you know. Results, you know, showing the whole thing and then explaining it. So it's not about relying on the PowerPoint, it's using the PowerPoint to tell a story. So that was it, really, you know. That's how you make a speech. It's hard at first, but you know, it gets easier the more you do it, just like with this whole, you know, YouTube thing. So yeah, that's it. If you want to subscribe for more content like this, please do, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.